Case Study 3 by Julian Clough and Belinda Oakley. Arousal is a degree of energy release and the intensity of the readiness from the performer. It can produce optimal performance. However, this is dependent on the individual and the sport. Arousal is considered to be a necessary ingredient in sports performance, although it can improve and/or hinder the execution of specific skills or task components. Optimal arousal does not mean maximal arousal. The arousal occurred halfway through the case study, at the 5-minute mark, when Paula began to focus on the race. She started to feel relaxed in her ability to complete the task and was motivated to perform well for her team. Anxiety is defined as an unpleasant state of mental concern that causes both physical and psychological discomfort. Extreme anxiety both disrupts and unsettles the desired behaviour, thus lowering the individual's concentration and affecting their muscular control. Any athlete can experience a rise in anxiety when they are participating in an activity they believe they don't have the skill to successfully complete. Some athletes actually learn to thrive from anxiety and therefore finding it a valuable motivator. There are many ways an athlete can reduce their anxiety levels. Anxiety was experienced by Paula at the start of the race. She feared she would disappoint Jill and start to think her abilities were not up to scratch. At this point, Paula experienced negative thoughts towards the race, which hindered her ability to perform at her peak. She experienced state anxiety as fear of disappointing her team continued to creep in. Trait anxiety is a level of stress that is unique or characteristic of an individual. Trait anxiety varies from individual to individual, as it is dependent on how an individual conditions their own responses to stress and have successful skills to manage the stress. State anxiety, however, is a heightened sense of emotion that develops in response to fear or danger. State anxiety can contribute to a degree of physical and mental paralysis, preventing performance of a task and/or forgetting movements. The drive theory states that performance is a function of repetition, of a habit, or of a skill. In the case study, Paula experiences this at the 6-minute mark. Her and her teammates were in sync, something they had practiced constantly, and therefore the habit of the skill began to sink in. Inverted U hypothesis. This theory purposes a relationship between arousal and performance. As the arousal increases to optimum, so too does the performance. Paula experiences the inverted U theory between the 3 to 4 minute range. This is because her effort is high and negative thoughts began to sneak in after the arousal level was optimal for her performance. Individual zone of optimal functioning. Paula experiences individual zone of optimal functioning theory before the race. During this time, she experienced anxiety, worry, and arousal. This theory states that high arousal can lead some athletes to perform better. Paula experiences multi-dimensional anxiety theory through increase in her heart rate, which is somatic anxiety, and mental concerns about being worried, which is cognitive anxiety. Paula experiences catastrophe theory when she went beyond optimal state cognitive anxiety, when she started to worry about her lack of experience and letting the team down. This leads to her uncharacteristically missing a stroke at the 2-minute mark of the race. Her performance was due to her excess cognitive state of anxiety. Reversal theory is a theory of personality, motivation, and emotion in the field of sports psychology. Currently 4 domains have been identified, which is how the human experience structurally organised. Each domain consists of a pair of opposing motives, and only one can be experienced at any given moment. The domains are as following. The means-ends domain, referred to if the individual is motivated by achievements and future goals, or enjoyment of the process. The 2 states in the first pair are called telic, meaning serious, and paratelic, meaning playful. Rules. In this domain, the 2 states are conforming or rebellion. The states refer to if the individual is willing to follow instruction and rules, or if the individual wishes to be pushed against structures. Transactions. The next 2 states are called mastery and sympathy. This domain refers to if an individual is motivated by being in control or having power, or if the individual is best motivated through care and compassion. Relationships. The last of the two states refers to if an individual is motivated by self-interest and responsibility, or by the interests of others. These states are called autic, meaning self, and aloic, meaning other. The largest and primary emphasis of the reversal theory is in the concept of reversals. When a reversal occurs between states, then the outcome of the situation is changed. The data shows a rise in Paula's cortisol levels from the start of the race right up until about the 3-minute mark, when she starts to hover around the same. This is when she gets a bit more settled and somewhat recovered from her nervous start. Her cortisol levels begin to drop when she became more focused and she started to feel relaxed and her muscles weren't feeling quite as worn out. The graph in the picture shows Paula's cortisol levels as they rise from the start of the race right up to where they peak at about the 3-minute mark, before it declines as she starts to settle down. So when Paula settled down, this caused the start of the reversal theory, because all the negative thoughts about failing and letting her friend Jill down started to disappear and were instead replaced with being really psyched and in the current task at hand. By the reversal theory occurring, Paula's team started to be in sync and her pain started to feel good, and she considered her strokes strong instead of at the start of the race when she felt weak, exhausted and her muscles hurt. Her heart rate variability dropped quite a bit until about the same section of the race when she began to recover and settle down, when it started to come up again. Exercise adherence has decreased recently for many reasons, but reversal theory is one of the reasons it has. Because people now are so easily convince themselves that exercise is too hard instead of pushing through and thinking about the results. With this new knowledge, it explains that exercise adherence has gone down because people are committed to making exercise a chore and not a drive theory, by making exercise a habit. And because exercise may also lead to higher levels of anxiety and not high enough levels of arousal. As future PE teachers trying to make sure students are motivated and engaged, it is a priority that students don't feel high levels of anxiety while participating in physical activity. Through applying reversal theory to the issue of low motivation in physical activity, by changing a person who has a fixed mindset into a growth mindset through trying to eliminate anxiety, setting future goals, and trying to break bad habits. Hopefully through all of this, the person's mind can be changed and the reversal theory will occur. For example, if Paula is convinced into taking rowing back up, the reversal theory will have occurred.